This is my updated 2021 NBA mock draft. I haven't done one for a while, and we now have a new first overall pick here with the Houston Rockets now picking first, and the Pistons are second. The Timberwolves now are third instead of first. Ever since they got eliminated from the playoff contention, they have started to actually become half decent. So they're actually third, and we have a lot of new players moving around. So before we get started, please remember to leave a like and subscribe, but let's get straight into it. So starting off at number 1, you got the Houston Rockets taking Cade Cunningham. This is very easy. They've been awful this year ever since the Harden trade, as expected. They fell to last in the league. They're probably going to end up with the first pick, in which they take the best player available, by far in my opinion, which is Cade. Now, there are some teams I could see maybe taking Evan Mobley, but the Rockets are one of those teams, as they basically have needs for every position, so they're just going to go with the best player available, which is Cade, who has potential to be a franchise point guard for the Rockets. Now, moving on to number 2, the Pistons, and I'm going to go with the other obvious pick here. We're taking Evan Mobley. He's a 7-foot center out of USC, and he's the second best player in this draft easily. They've got Isaiah Stewart, who's been great this year. But they can probably put him on the bench or something, as they'll probably run with their forwards as Sadiq Bey, who has also been a great rookie this year, Jeremy Grant at power forward, and Evan Mobley as their center. And they'll have very deep forwards, which will be good for them, and he will help this team a lot. He has the potential to be a franchise-level center. Moving on to number 3, we have the Timberwolves, and they're going to be taking Jalen Suggs, the combo guard out of Gonzaga. He was awesome in March Madness and awesome all year, and I think that before he was supposed to be a top 5 pick for sure, as all of these guys in top 5 picks, same thing. But I think he's really solidified himself as the majority third overall pick. A lot of people now think he will go top 3, and I believe so as well. D'Lo has been struggling for the Timberwolves, so I think that they can add Suggs and probably they might trade D'Lo, but if they keep him, even then Suggs can play shooting guard, and then they play Ant at small forward and Cat at center. Ant has actually been playing very well at small forward. Moving on to 4, we get the Thunder, and they're going to be taking Jonathan Kuminga. They could take Jalen Green here. I think they're going to go with his star G League teammate in Jonathan Kuminga. He's a 6'8" small forward, and he had a very good year. He's averaging 2.1 points less than Jalen Green with 15.8 points, but he has 7.2 rebounds. So I think he's a very good, versatile guy who can score, and he's also a very good defender. So I think he can be a star player, and he fits better with Shea. Shea can do most of the scoring, but Kuminga will be a lockdown defender for them who can fill the need of and do everything that a small forward is supposed to do. Moving on to number 5, we've got the Magic, and I think this should be a no-brainer for them. They're taking Jalen Green. My last mock, I had him falling us to the top 5, but now I just don't see that happening, as he is easily a top 5 player in this class. He's had an awesome year in the G League, 17.9 points and 4.1 rebounds, as well as 2.8 assists. So I think the Magic have to take him. With going through a rebuild after trading away Nikola Vucevic, I think they're going to go with Green here. I think this should be a very easy pick. Moving on to the Cavs pick at 6th overall, they're going to be taking Scotty Barnes. He is a 6'9" power forward out of Florida State, and he had 10.3 points, 4 rebounds, and 4.1 assists. So you'll have to see these bigger players able to distribute the rock and get these assists, which he can do. And they could go with Jalen Johnson here as a small forward power forward, but there are a lot more concerns with him. And he did decommit from Duke. I think that Scotty Barnes is just a better and safer pick here for the Cavs. They've got that wonderful backcourt. I don't think they're going to be adding another guard. So I think they're going to adding Scotty Barnes here, who can be their starting power forward in the future. Next up, with the Magic's pick here, which they got from the Bulls in the Nikola Vucevic trade, they're going to be taking Jalen Johnson. This is their second pick in 3 picks. They had the 5th overall pick, taking Jalen Green. He's going to be their elite guard. And now at 7, they have the ability to take a star player here, another player here that might not necessarily be the safest pick in Jalen Johnson. He's very risky, but he has the talent to be an elite player, and if they hit on him, then this could look like a great pick for the Magic. So they're going to be taking a risk here, but I think that the fact that they have 2 picks here in the top 7, I think they are going to want to take Jalen Johnson. Moving on to Toronto's pick at 8, I think the Raptors are going to take Corey Kispert. This is not a center. Obviously, the biggest need is a center, but I think this is a bit early to take Isaiah Jackson or Alperen Sengun. And Corey Kispert is a great small forward. He's 22 years old. He finished his senior year with Gonzaga. He didn't have the best March Madness, but he still played really well all year. And I think immediately right off the bat, he is a top 3 player, a day one in this class. And I think that he will be a very good starter for the Raptors. He averaged 18.6 points and 5 rebounds. He's not that good of a passer, but I don't think they need him to be. He can be a great scorer for the Raptors. And we'll see. Hopefully Lowry comes back. But with their forwards, they'll probably roll Kispert at small forward, OG at power forward, and Pascal at center. Pascal and OG actually played really well at power forward and center. So I think they're going to go with kind of that small ball lineup there. Kispert isn't that big at all as well. He's only 6'7". But OG, I think, will be fine at power forward, as he is one of the only players who can guard every position 1 through 5. He's an elite defender. And then Kispert can be an elite scorer as well. So I think that you can play Pascal at center and things can work out in Toronto. Moving on to 9, we've got the Sacramento Kings, and they're going to be taking Moses Moody. This is a very interesting pick. He's a 6'6" shooting guard from Arkansas. Finished his freshman year, he had 17.8 points per game, so he is a very good player. And there are a few guys they can go. I think they can also take James Bucknight or Keon Johnson. So there are quite a few other shooting guards that they can take, but I think they'll most likely play Moody at small forward with De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Haliburton as their star guards. And Rashawn Holmes has been great as center, so I think the one position that they need is small forward, which they can bring in Moody for. Next up, with the Pelicans pick at number 10, I think they're going to be taking Davion Mitchell, not Donovan Mitchell. He had an amazing March Madness with Baylor, and he is a bit older, which I think is the biggest concern, and why I think he can drop out of the top 15. He's a 6'2" point guard, shooting guard. He just finished his junior year, but he is 22 years old, and he had 14 points, 2.7 rebounds, and 5.5 assists. So he can pass, and he actually also even had 1.9 steals. So he can pass the ball, and he's also a great scorer. He's a great 3-point shooter. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Pels actually trade this pick and acquire a third star to play with Zion and Brandon Ingram. But if they do take someone, I think they'll take a guard to play with Kira Lewis Jr. and Lonzo. Next up at 11, we've got the Wizards, and I think they're going to be taking Keon Johnson. So he's a guy that I think could go to the Kings, and I think they would definitely consider taking Moses Moody as well if he was available, but he's not, so I think they'll go with Keon Johnson here. He had a very good year as a freshman, and playing with Tennessee, he's a 6'5" shooting guard, and he had 11.3 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 2.5 assists. So a decent stat line there, and he is a freshman, so I think he has a lot of potential to be a starter with the Wizards. They do have Beal and Russ as their guards, but I think they can maybe play Johnson at small forward, and I'm not even sure if Beal and Westbrook are there for the long run. Next up, at the 12th overall pick, we've got the Indiana Pacers, and they're going to be taking Franz Wagner. Small forward's the one position they do need. They've got Domantas Sabonis, Karis LeVert. They're fine at every position except for small forwards. They bring in Franz Wagner, and he can be a solid small forward for them. He's a 6'8" small forward from Michigan, put up decent numbers last year, so I think this can be a solid pick for the Pacers. And moving on to 13, we've got the Spurs, and they're going to be taking Isaiah Jackson. And he's a 6'10" power forward center coming out of Kentucky. He didn't have great stats with only 8.4 points and 6.6 rebounds, but he did have 2.6 blocks, which is the reason why I have the Spurs taking him here. He can be a blocking machine for them with his size and length, and he won't put up the flashiest numbers, but he'll get the job done in the paint for the Spurs. And their guards are fine with DeJounte Murray and Lonnie Walker. DeMar, I think that he'll leave. He might stay, but I think he probably will leave. They've also got Devin Vassell too, so they've got some solid players, but I think they're lacking someone like Isaiah Jackson who can come in there, and he will be more of a role player, but I think he can be a starter for the Spurs. With our second to last pick, we've got the Grizzlies, and I think they're going to finally be taking James Bucknell off the board. This is a bit of a steal. He's a 6'5" shooting guard from UConn. He's a sophomore, though, which is why I have him dropping despite his stats, but I think he could be a top 10 pick. So this is a great pick by the Grizzlies, and he got 18.7 points last year, so he's a great scorer. Not that great of a passer, though, but he'll be a very good player to play alongside John Morant at the guard position for the Grizzlies. And finally, with the last pick in the draft, we've got the Hornets, and they're going to be taking Alperen Sengun, the first center off the board, or second center actually off the board, to Evan Mobley. He's a 6'10" center, and he played in Turkey. I'm not even going to pronounce the team that he played for, but he had 19.6 points, 9.2 rebounds, and 2.5 assists. So he put up some great numbers. Again, it's Turkey. It's not even one of the best European leagues. It's a pretty bad one in Turkey. Not that great. It's not like the one Luka played in Spain. So it's a bit tough to determine where he'll be. It's a bit of a risky pick, but the Hornets do need a center, so I think they'll take Sengun off the board, as pretty much they're fine at every other position. And they'll probably have a starting line for the future of Devontae Graham, LaMelo, Miles Bridges, PJ Washington, and Alperen Sengun at the center position. So there is my mock draft. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please remember to leave a like and subscribe and comment your thoughts down below. So there's my mock draft, and thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.